So the Trump economy is rounding into form, and investors are finally getting some clarity on tariffs. Rates are set for nearly all countries, and the president is celebrating. Writing on Truth Social, billions of dollars in tariffs are now flowing into America. April's panic just seems silly, right?
Gasoline is way down. The price of groceries are down. Eggs are down. Everything's down. Price is down. The only thing that's up is stock prices. That's really up, and that's through the roof. The stock market has been hitting all-time records, all-time highs.
He's not wrong there. Companies are thriving. 82% of S&P earnings have beaten estimates, and second quarter results are up almost 10% from last year. So we've seen a big swing in the markets today, specifically, Daniel, point-wise. But I was saying in the last hour, we're near record highs. This is garden variety profit taking. It's bound to happen. I'm surprised investors haven't taken more profits. And that, you know, the panicans out there who are saying, oh, the market's selling off today because of the implementation of these tariffs, they have nothing else to say.
Yeah, it seems like everyone got it wrong. If you really think about it, almost every economic model that was put out has been wrong. GDP estimates have been wrong. The estimates of tariff bounties, you'd see in the billions now. We saw a surplus in the budget last month for the first time in a very long time. This is directionally very different, and I think the economists and the panicans are now trying to figure out how to change the narrative in real time, because he just continues to win. And that's why I said you may agree or not agree with his policy right now, but these announcements, he's pivoted Apple. You've got Tim Cook, $600 billion committing to onshoring. You've got Jensen Huang committing to onshoring. TSMC bringing capacity here. And I know we'll talk more about that in the show, but across the board, you watch these earnings, they're good, they're optimistic. Now, the deflationary aspects of AI, this is one thing we have to watch, because the jobs number has been probably the thing that has been teetering the most. We've seen these revisions, which are very irritating. But if you actually spend time like I do with CEOs out in the economy, you've heard the CEOs, some of the most bullish ones, saying we're going to slow hiring down. We've heard about companies in the services like McKinsey and Gartner this week. They had a major sell-off because these are body shops, companies that need tons of consultants, tons of people to do business, and we know AI is going to shift it. But overall, the Trump administration is doing exactly what it said. It's delivering the carrots and the sticks, and the results are good, and people that wanted it to fail are really struggling to come up with the narrative.
Right. That's exactly right. And David, we talk about all the time how it's going to take a little bit more than 6 months for policies to be implemented that will bear some more fruit. We need more work done on energy. We need more work done on decreasing regulation. All these investments that Apple and other companies, billions and billions of dollars, and countries, by the way, as well, are making. It's going to take time for those plants to be built, and then for production to go up, and for that to trickle into the system as well.
Exactly, and we do have now the blueprint. We have more than the blueprints. We have the BBB bill, which is now law of the land. We have all of the news that about the tariffs, all the panicky news about the tariffs is washed out. Actually, if you had listened to Bessent, our Treasury Secretary, way back in April, saying that, folks, this is the high watermark, so it's going to get better from here, you definitely would have made a lot of money in the stock market. I mean, I happen to buy at the bottom.
Me too.
Back at the end of April. And because I saw that the panic index, the VIX, was way up. It was equal to where it was during the pandemic. It was equal to where it was in 2009, in March of 2009. So there was just too much panic to get to your original introduction to this going on in the marketplace. Now, however, there is kind of a consensus being taken. What is happening? When are we going to see a real change in the manufacturing jobs numbers? When are we going to see the build out of what has been promised in all of these trillions that has been promised? So far, we've had some pretty lackadaisical numbers in manufacturing, basically negative, not the 40 to 50,000 job losses in manufacturing we had a year ago under Biden, but it's still not positive enough. So people are sitting back. I think there is going to be a cooling off period for the next couple of months with the markets right now, where we may kind of sail along here. So we'll see what happens, but if you'd listened to Bessent back in April, you would have done very well by now.
And we talk about rates all the time. It would definitely be positive if Jerome Powell would cut rates. The president has been calling for it. He's been calling for it pretty hard. It would be positive when it comes to our national debt, but it would offer opportunities for Americans to potentially see lower mortgage rates and other things as well. But when David describes the economy the way he just did, and I agree with him, Dagan, it actually, lowering rates would stimulate things. I know there's an undertone of a little bit of slowing growth.
Today, continuing jobless claims are the highest since November 2021. So there's some, in the jobs data, the labor data, there's some weakness, softness there. So 1.974 million in continuing jobless claims. In the manufacturing, May and June, there were 26,000 jobs lost in manufacturing. The preliminary was 11 in the July data, but again, that will be revised. The manufacturing activity, March to July, contracting. But then you have the big, beautiful law that goes into effect and all. So I think the bigger picture is what President Trump is doing. And he's laying the groundwork for American revival long after he leaves office. And that's kind of part of the genius of all of this. This isn't about just his 4 years. It is about the American worker and American prosperity for decades to come, potentially. One interesting thing about the tariff revenue, say maybe it's $200 billion per year. Right now, and the average tariff, effective tariff is 18%. It was only 2.3%. And some of the argument is, the tariff rate would need to be higher to get manufacturers to really onshore. I'm like, please don't say that out loud. But with the $200 billion, all right, so $300 billion, given the huge gap between spending and tax revenue right now, so our deficit is $2 trillion a year, $300 billion is just not that harmful. It just isn't. And so it's actually a step in the right direction if you're trying to close that gap.
Yeah, well, Secretary Bessent was very upfront about what we have to do. We have to outgrow this.
Yes.
There is no way we are going to cut enough spending or have the type of fiscal responsibility. And the billionaires that everyone wants to tax more, they simply don't actually have enough money. It doesn't matter how much you tax them to cover off this deficit. So growth has to be the anchor. And so a lot of these policies, are really rooted in the fact that we are going to try to outgrow. And one thing that's interesting about interest rates, just to note, is it's very unique how the Fed likes to say they're data dependent on making decisions, but yet we're still, using this hypothesis that some point in the future that tariffs are going to cause prices to rise. So it's like everything's got to be rear-looking, data dependent, but in this case, we're willing to consider the fact that maybe tariffs will enter the cost structure at some point, which we simply haven't seen
But
yet.
it's worse than that.
Wait.
They're saying that growth will cause inflation. It's the Phillips curve thing that
Can I just
they're
read something?
embedded in.
The CNN headline or the banner is Trump tariffs kick in at highest rate since Great Depression. That is how they're selling it on the left to that narrative. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so the average tariff rate at what I said was 18% is the highest since the 1930s, but that's how they try to
Right.
spend it.
They scare people. It's not going to stay
But
there.
they're trying to create some sort of cause and effect